Welcome to Sally Speaks Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Sally Arkell Bowles, your high performance success and mindset mentor. I firmly believe that you deserve to create the wealth, wellness, and wisdom you've always desired. This podcast is your go to source for inspiration, education, and motivation to guide you on your path to success. Each episode features exceptional guests who are leaders in their respective fields, sharing their incredible stories and journeys to empower and uplift you. Welcome, everybody, to Sally Speaks Mindset Podcast. I am absolutely thrilled to have Carolyn Stenhouse with us today. And she has the most amazing career you could ever believe. She is a people whisperer. Now, I've never heard of that before, so I'm really intrigued on this. A behavioral science expert and a people profiler. And Carolyn, tell us a little bit about what brought you to this type of career and what you're finding as far as your ideal clients within that.
Oh, Sally, should we tell the listeners that I'm Scottish and they're going to have to deal with a Scottish accent?
Absolutely.
This is such a strange route to where I got to. I started life as an artist.
Mm,
I did my first degree was in art, and I can't tell you, I got so fascinated by the human being, drawing humans, painting humans. I was really into figurative work. And that combined with a background in, I've been a real working class kid and
mm-hmm.
I'd seen a lot of stuff go on in my life. And
Yeah.
I started to look, while at university, I started to look for answers around why things were the way they were. And while that took me to structural things and understanding the world better, I also began to realize that a huge amount of this was about human interaction, the
Mm,
relationships that we have with other people, and what's the context for the way in which we lens those relationships. Because the lens is the way we see the world, and it just is not always how the others see the world at all. So a
mm,
combination of being very fascinated by faces took me down the understand body language,
yes.
and the other part took me down understanding relationships
Mm-hmm.
and inner worlds and what we were doing with our inner world.
Okay.
And long story short, I ended up running, I birthed and ran one of Scotland's most successful, a premier social policy
Mm,
consultancy. And
wow.
we spun an arm off that because we realized we were working with so many organizations where leaders were in challenge that we spun off an arm that was all about people development. And
Mm,
bit by bit, I started to do a lot more people problem solving, people
okay.
growth, leadership growth. And these days, I don't do the company anymore. I now live in Australia and I work almost exclusively with C-suite leaders
Okay.
and their people. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm either growing them or helping problem solve. So I'm a people problem solver and I am a mindset growth coach.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So that is so much fabulous information for us to share. And I know that as you're working with your clients, it's got to be very interesting when you actually recognize the different games that people play. So tell us a little bit about that perspective when you're working, especially in the corporate environment. I mean, I've been in corporate for, I don't know how many years, over 30 years. And I've witnessed that same thing where people are playing games within the organization. So is that one of the things that you work with teams or
Constantly,
C-suite? Mhm.
constantly. I would say, Sally, that all day, every day, there are games afoot all around us. And the great thing is when we start to notice them, because the minute you notice them, either in yourself or in the other, you can make a choice.
Mm,
You can make a choice about whether you want to continue in that game or not, and what position you want to take in that. So,
right.
how about I explain some of the, if you like, a theory, and we'll try and
Okay.
make that really plain English and try and do a visual on a radio, shall we? On sound. How about let's take an equilateral triangle
Okay.
with a point at the bottom,
Okay.
and I want you to imagine at the bottom the word victim
Mm, okay.
and the subtext that goes with victim. And this comes from the School of Transactional Analysis, which is
Okay.
a psychotherapeutic school and has been evolved by any number of practitioners since then. But I'm just going to keep it simple as an introduction for us. So,
Perfect.
first place on one of the games that we do not want to get into is that we're a victim. And I'll tell
Mm,
you how you know you're in it. It's got a subtext. It sounds like this. It's dead simple. Poor me.
mm,
Might have a bit of a whine with it. Yeah, poor me. Or
yeah.
poor me. So you can tell that you're in that position on the game if you're going, poor me, it's not fair. Can you see how I almost want to
Yeah.
go to a whine? You know, it's not fair. So
Right.
the other position that on the other leg of the triangle we're going to go to, because this is called the drama triangle, we will go to rescue.
Mm.
So the subtext with that, you will know you're in it, is when someone is saying, let me save you.
Oh, right. Yeah. I'll take
Let
care.
me save you. Pardon?
I'll take care of it for you.
Yeah, let me save you from
Okay.
this. Let me do it for you. So we're going to layer this into any number of scenarios that go
Mm-hmm.
on, either in the home, in your relationships, or at work.
Mm-hmm.
The third and last one is called the persecutor. And the subtext for that is really just got two letters. It goes F and U.
We'll figure that one out.
We get that one. Now, here's the thing. Someone who invites us into that game may already be on one of those positions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So they may start out with the FU, I'm going to get you, the persecutor place. And then depending on how, if you engage in the game, how you respond, they may then go, oh, back to victim, poor me. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a bit like a ping pong table. There is
Mm-hmm.
not static placing on this. We all start to bounce around the different things that go
Mm-hmm.
on. The one thing I would say is that I've noticed in all of these games is that most people don't know they're doing them. They come from an out of consciousness place
Mm-hmm.
and they can be, I mean, they may know that they want to get you. You know, it might be retribution moment. And the retribution may be not for what's in the room. I have this phrase that I use, Sally, which is called the thing is not the thing. So
Mm-hmm.
we often think we're debating the fact that you were late to the meeting, for example, or that you didn't produce that report on time. Whereas in actual fact, what may be very active is something completely different and is outside the scope of what we think we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So you've come late to the meeting. Well, why is that activating me into I now want to kick you? So I've gone to persecutor, or
Yes.
I've gone to poor me because I'm always on time. You're not on time,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't respect me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just all spirals out of control, and people, two, let's just call it two people.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, multiple people can get into these games.
Yes.
As there is not like if you and I just visualized victim, persecutor, or rescuer, and we said, which one do we like, Sally?
Mm-hmm.
Is there one? Have you got one? Because to tell you there isn't a good one. So if you
It
picked
depends on
one,
who I'm in the conversation with.
well, what don't you think? Actually, if we really sat down and looked at that, do I want to be the rescuer? Because I tell you what, if you're going around rescuing all the time,
Mhm.
and interestingly, when I do work with non-profits, that's their C-suite favourite place, is to be
Right.
let me save you. They're
Yeah.
not just out there saving the people that they're there to serve. They end up with this, we think we're kind to each other, so I'm
Mm,
going to save you. Particularly as a leader, they might say, and this is not unique to non-profits, but it proliferates a lot more there, in the under the guise of kindness.
mhm. Yeah.
But in truth, the rescue position is looking for something for self. You will like me and you will want me more
Mhm.
in your life. You will think me a good and kind person if I do this for you.
Mhm.
But we wouldn't parent that way, because we would parent by saying it's really important that you learn how to tie your own shoelaces.
Yes.
So let me resource you by showing you how. And
Mhm.
I'll do it for you the first time, you know, and then we'll practice it together the second time, because it's the teach moment, isn't it? But if we don't and we rescue and we go and do, I'll do that report for you. I can see that you're under pressure. Let
Mhm.
me take that off you. And then I discover that you were out at the football when I was doing an all-nighter. I'm going to go into game. And where have I gone from on the
Yeah.
rescue place? I've either gone to poor me, victim,
Mhm.
or I'm up at bleep you. I am never doing a report for you ever again.
Mhm. Right.
And actually, you were the starter because you started out in rescue.
Mhm. Very interesting because I think, I'm just thinking of people that I've worked with in each of those positions at different times and what their responses were. And even talking about the meeting at the beginning, it was, obviously you could see who was in those positions in a meeting when someone did walk in late, or when they walked in late. So you could see all those
Yeah.
positions being filled right away. So I love how you brought that analogy forward because I've seen it, I don't know how many times playing out
Yeah.
in the workplace. So now what do we do about it? How do we change that? What do we do to?
Oh, there's a lovely alternative. Like I can think of the games. I imagine we're all now imagining the many, many times we've gone, they talked over me and I suddenly went, I'm going to get you. I
Mhm.
was about to help you, but I'm not going to help you anymore because you just talked over me.
Mhm.
And we are now in the world, are we not, of feelings. Well, how do I feel about the fact that you came in late? Well, I
Mhm.
feel unimportant actually, or I feel disrespected. We're in a feelings zone. You just talked over me. Well, I feel unimportant again, or I feel you've disrespected me. What I find, Sally, is that I don't know about you, but when I'm working with people, when I ask them how they're feeling, they've got a very limited vocabulary.
Mhm.
And we're really good these days with kids in school. We give them the feelings wheel, a visual feelings wheel with the panoply of emotions that human beings are capable of. And yet, to this day, if I'm dealing in the C-suite, I feel hurt, I feel angry, I am sad,
Mhm.
but the range of emotions that are actually at play in here and that can attach themselves to any one of those positions is extensive.
Mhm.
Because in every interaction where we get off sides with each other, there is an unmet emotional need.
Mhm.
And yet, in almost all the conversations we're having, people are talking about the thing as if it's the fact. They will talk about the you came in late or you talked over me. They will not say, the unmet need I have is that I'm now active in feeling unimportant,
Mhm. Yeah.
or any number of other feelings. And
Mhm.
if we can't identify the trigger or the unmet need, because when I'm mediating with people, we've got to find the unmet need, and every single time, Sally, it's
Mhm.
an emotional one. And
Yeah.
yet that's not the conversation we're having. So if
Yeah.
we just go back to the games people play triangle, the drama triangle, and go, when you feel yourself being drawn in, instead of becoming the victim, how about we go, I'm noticing I'm feeling vulnerable.
Mhm.
And I'm a huge fan of Brene Brown's lovely, simple explanation of vulnerable, like definition, if you like. Let's go. There's emotional exposure, there is risk, and there is unknown.
Mhm.
So I noticed that going on big time around good and bad apologies.
Mhm.
That an apology is a huge thing for us to be able to do because we have to become vulnerable in order to do it. We're about to
Yeah.
enter into a difficult thing, aren't we?
Yeah.
So instead of becoming victim, we go, let's do vulnerable.
Mhm.
I'm noticing I'm vulnerable here, or she or he is vulnerable. Let's engage with the vulnerability of the situation rather than standing in the poor me place. And instead of becoming persecutory, what if we said, I think I want to be potent here? And potent in a good way, in that way that's like use your agency, use your power.
Yeah.
And power, for example, I find a great one around boundaries is just to say, I think I wanted to say, no, that's not okay.
Mhm.
Rather than I want to psychologically kick you to the point where I'm comfortable with your metaphoric bleed,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes.
because I'm now in that place where I just really want to see you suffer
Mhm.
because I felt like I was suffering and you didn't see my suffer.
Mhm.
And when you didn't see me, I had an unmet emotional need. A
Yes.
basic relational need is that we all feel seen, that we have an impact, that,
Mhm.
you know, like we're using a very glib term around, well, not a term, but someone comes into the room late and you're feeling unimportant. Well, you're also feeling unseen, that your needs are not seen.
Mhm.
I've honored you. I got here on time.
Mhm.
I brought my notes. I did the prep. You're late and you've not prepped. What the bleep?
Mhm. You're wasting my time.
But if we start having a discussion around there, because I tell you what they're going to do, the other party in the game is likely to become immediately defended.
Mhm.
Now, we know from coaching that if we were really good at it, we would say, I'm curious, help me understand um, what brought you to being late today, or what's
Mhm.
going on that you don't have your notes, that you're not prepped for this. Because when you're not prepped, I'm feeling, I'm feeling something.
Mhm.
I'm feeling worried, possibly, that we're not going to hit the deadline. I'm feeling like put upon. But do you see how we're immediately into the territory of emotion?
Mhm.
And if we are being potent, we're saying what is and isn't okay for us, rather than just wanting to psychologically slap you, either in the moment, which is you're a bad person now and I'm going to have you, or silently in that passive aggressive way where someone's sitting looking at them and going, okay, I needed this to be a good meeting. I need you
Mhm.
to deliver today. I thought we were in it together. You're clearly not in it with me. So, tomorrow when the other thing's important, I'm not going to have it for you.
Mhm.
And there's the game. Because the game is bleep you, I'm coming back at you. Whereas if we use potency, we use our power. And the
Mhm.
power is often the voice and owning what you're feeling and hoping that the other person will engage in a feelings based discussion with you, in which there may well be a need for a truly authentic and deeply held apology that says, I hadn't seen that from your perspective.
Mhm.
I can see how I really let you down. What's that like for you?
Mhm.
But I tell you what, quite often very defended actions are also in the other realm that we don't know that is going on. All the stuff that happens beneath the iceberg level, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, what if, for example, people who are attachment avoidant, they find it incredibly difficult to apologize.
Mhm.
And if we're not good at doing that and understanding how we've wounded the other person, in what way they experience it, and we can take responsibility for that, then they are more likely to get into the game with us and either go poo me or bleep you.
Mhm.
But the human being might actually be inviting rescue. Like, how many times you've been in a meeting when someone has gone, I'm going to struggle to do that, and someone's gone, I can do it for you. Let me help. And you can tell that it's not from a truly helpful place,
Mhm.
because a truly helpful place just does, I'll give you the alternative to rescue. I like to use the term resource, which is how can I help you get there and get you to do it, which is
Mhm.
not to do it for you.
Yes.
Because if I do it for you, apart from the no teach, it's often that I'm actually doing that because I feel better about me when I become the helper.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to feel very shitty about you when I realise that I was doing it in order that you would love me more, like me more, want me more, invite me in, and then I discover that I did it in order to get invited into the in crowd or that you would want me more and you don't.
Mhm.
And so my ass gets bitten and I'm now resentful. Where am I going to go with that? Oh, look, I suddenly find myself on base camp, bleep you, persecutor.
Mhm.
Got to stay off it. And the starting point from that is know all those positions, but truly know yourself.
Mhm.
Be really good at checking in and going, oh, what am I feeling? What do I know about myself? If I know that I am likely to become a rescuer of people in order to be wanted by people,
Mhm.
and I know that I'm likely to get my ass bitten, and when I do, I'll turn into the game of persecute them, then how about I don't do this to start with? How about I notice this in myself? Or if they have and they've gone into game and I felt kicked, how about I get really good at finding my power?
Mhm. So now I know I've seen so many different circumstances and I've been involved in a lot of them in similar situations to what you've talked about from the corporate perspective. And I'm just wondering, how do we get that awareness of what position we're playing, and how do we start to really understand where we can get our voice to be able to change the way that we've been habitually responding? Because I've witnessed people habitually respond the same way their whole career. So how do we pivot? How do we change? How do we make that distinction between what we currently are and who we are in that triangle versus what we can do to move forward? Because this is so common and yet it's very toxic at the same time,
Well,
or
I
can
think
be.
one of the things, think about human beings. How many times are we going, if only they would change? And we're looking at the other person going, well, they're the one at fault. And they're the problem here. And they're the one kicking me right now. Or, oh, look at them whining away.
Mhm.
You know, we are so often going, waiting even on the other person changing.
Mhm.
And like, I think Stephen Covey's Seven Habits work of all those years ago, an oldie but a goodie,
Yeah.
where he said, what have you got direct control over, indirect control over, and no control?
Mm.
And the only thing you've got any direct control over is you and how you think. You and how you think. So if we're expending an awful lot of energy waiting on being able to influence and impact the other person before we've done something about knowing ourselves, the starting point is truly know yourself,
Mhm.
because in knowing yourself, you will know when you are triggered by the other person and what the emotional feeling is that you're having. And then in knowing yourself, I would say grow yourself. I feel like I've got a little ABBA line on the go, Sally, which is knowing me, knowing you.
Right.
Aha. Because if I start with know yourself, know your triggers,
Mm.
know your personality type,
Mhm.
know that. Like I know, for example, Sally, I love the Enneagram. That's my thing. After all the Myers-Briggs and DISC and all the different tools that I've used, the Enneagram's the one tool that I've absolutely landed on. And when I turn it on myself, what it's taught me is that I need big picture, I need visuals, I need excitement, I need stimulus. So I'm going to be sitting, like I did some work with a lot of accountants really who really like detail, and it's so boring for me. And yet I have to self-manage
Yes.
because I have to go, this is important to them.
Mhm.
You're getting irritable because you do big picture and they do small.
Mhm.
So you're getting irritated because they're going to talk a lot of words when you want fewer words.
Mhm.
Well, if I know that about myself, what if I self-manage as a starting point? Because my goodness, get to know yourself is a really good starting point.
Mhm.
Then self-manage, then invite the other person in because look at me, I already know that that's what they're like. Knowing me helps me knowing you.
Mhm.
And if I know that I'm an apple and you're a pear, we're automatically going to be different.
Yes.
But us human beings really like other apples, don't we?
Yes.
We're like, why won't you be an apple? Why don't you look like, sound like, crunch like, taste like an apple? Well, because every team needs difference. But core to every single thing we do is understanding that difference is going to take management.
Mhm.
And a starting point is know what shape you are, know what drives you, what motivates you, And then you will say, that's how I engage with the world and how others experience me.
Mm. So are there hiring patterns for positions that are hiring the apples versus the pears for certain positions?
Yeah, people hire shame. That's what they do. Because someone speaks to them like an apple in an interview room and they go,
Mhm.
wow, you're an apple, I'm an apple, we're all apples. Let's all have some more apples. And then suddenly the senior team fruit bowl is a bunch of apples and the
Mhm.
pear in the group gets disliked
Mhm. Yeah.
and they start turning on the pear. And I come along and go, hey guys, gals, what we need here is a very eclectic fruit bowl. And you all kind of know that at a theoretical level
Mhm.
because you're going to need somebody who, look, if you've done any Belbin work, you're going to need your resource investigator, you're going to need your researcher, your visioner. All of that is your fruit bowl of different people. The work thereafter is to truly know yourself and to truly know each other
Mhm.
so that when you irritate each other, you don't go into game
Right.
because you will inevitably irritate each other. And if you can look at each other and go, you are different, you bring something different, I can see the value that that brings to the team. But you know what? See, you pair, you ask a lot of questions, and
Mhm.
those questions can piss me off because I already reached a conclusion like a long while ago, and I thought we could get, come on, let's get this meeting moving here,
Mhm.
and you're still questioning. And yet, those people who question are often the people who get us to the risk assessment that we
Mhm.
haven't done because we didn't stop long enough to
Yeah.
look around the corner and see what we need. So we have to learn to appreciate the questioners. But if we go, you irritate me, like what I do is I get, let's say I've got a CEO who says, yeah, I did bring in that pair because I really did want the one that would bring the questions and the global insight.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go, well, manage them. Like one of the things I commonly see in meetings, for example, is somebody wants to make a decision quickly.
Right.
We're here, like, we're all going to go, we're not going to have too many meetings and we're not going to have meetings that go on for an hour when it could be a 20-minute meeting. That can cut out the people who are not good at spontaneous decision making or good at coming up with an opinion in the room in the moment.
Yeah.
Because what if you are a kumquat and the kumquat says, I get really scared that I'll embarrass myself with the wrong answer,
Mhm.
so I'd rather give no answer. And then the group's going, why do we even bring the kumquat? They never answer anything. They
Mhm.
never contribute anything. Well, I think you'd find that if you went to the kumquat and said, this is going to be on the agenda, I'm really going to need your input. Could you come with some answers? So give them it ahead of time.
Mhm.
Or in the 20-minute meeting, what you're going to do is say, you're going to need time to consider that, aren't you? How long do you need? And they'll say, it's Monday, can you give me to Friday? And I'm going to coach the boss to say to them, yeah, you've got till tomorrow.
Mhm.
Because they need managed.
Yes.
Because they will go away and ruminate and ruminate and ruminate.
Mhm.
Kumquat's really like a ruminate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they will pick and unpick that ball of wool 20 times. But if you give them a deadline, they'll come back with a really good analysis and assessment. And
Mhm.
they may not be able to do that in the meeting in the room. But if you've judged them as poor, then we will unquestionably get into game. And the
Mhm.
game will be that I want to kick you because I don't see your value.
Mhm. Right.
Or you don't think like me and I don't like it because you don't think as fast as me.
Yes. Hmm. These are also very thoughtful conversation because I'm just every time you're speaking about the kumquat or the apple or the pear or any of these other analogies, it brings people to mind, right?
Yeah.
And it brings myself to mind in some of the situations and say, okay, so what was I doing that was causing others to feel this
Mhm.
way or not being heard or not being felt? And so I think it's very, very interesting, but I think it's also such a critical element of the communications in any team. So when you're working with these C-suite leaders, how do you actually influence them and get them, like what type of system or process do you have in place to be able to help them to be able to really engage with the team in a way that's going to move the whole team forward?
Well, in the knowing me, knowing you, aha, line, the starting point is look in the mirror.
Mm,
Look in the mirror. With every C-suite leader, I get them to look in the mirror. We would always do some, for me, I will use the Enneagram. We will understand their core motivations, their worldview, their strengths, their challenges, and all of that. They get so much more self-aware.
mm,
And in becoming self-aware, their ability to see around them the people that they have, which means that if they are an apple and their 2IC or their head of tech, whatever, is not them, then they get much more skilled at understanding the impact they are having on that pair
mm,
when they are an apple. And when the pair walks in the room, going, how am I going to get the best out of that pair because they are different to me? And
mhm,
up until now, I have expected them to respond to me as an apple. And there's always somewhere in the middle that says, let's now have a conversation that says, I'm going to intuitively want this because this is who I am.
mhm,
This is me at my best. This is me at my worst. Can we talk about who you are at your best and at your worst and what you like and don't like? Let's understand that's what walks into every engagement that we have with each other. And then really work on being able to have wonderful conversations that say things like, what's happening here?
mm.
I am feeling unseen. I wonder if we're not doing our best work here at the moment. Is there something in the room that we're not noticing?
Yes.
And those become very skilled conversations around acceptance of difference, working with difference, and working to our best selves.
Mhm,
Because we all really, really want to be everybody to be like us, to have the same value set, to have the same lens on the world, to have the same emotional response to something, or to be seen that we are likely to be having an emotional response and actually people can't see it. And I would say I'm teaching people, helping them to see and better understand themselves and to become much more skilled at talking the language of emotions, of feelings, because that's what's in the room. And they
mhm,
will continue to want to talk about the thing as if it was a fact. I'm working with a big engineering firm at the moment, and one of the things they do is they love to talk about the fact. You can imagine it, can't you?
yep,
For
yep,
them, every solution is a factual engineering solution,
yep.
and yet it is the human dimension, the human interaction between each other, with their clients, that will help them become their best selves. And that high functioning team is the team that is able to have a robust conversation with each other that might start a sentence with, when you, I feel,
Mm,
because that owns the feeling for a start and doesn't come at a conversation with blame.
mhm. Yeah, because you're pointing it back at yourself
Well, we get
in a
very
way. Yeah.
curious. It's lovely to be curious and say, I wonder what's happening here. I wonder if there are feelings in the room. Let's explore those.
Mhm,
And like, how many leaders do you know that start with that? Because they're usually on an agenda, aren't they? That we're talking about the cost centers or the facts or the balance sheet. We're talking about things that are tangible and real because
mhm.
feelings are way more in the ether.
Yes.
Why aren't we, well, if we bring them out and we talk about them, because common relational needs are often being missed. And
Mm,
when they're missed, when I don't feel seen or valued, or that I have an impact here, or that I am significant to you, when those core relational needs are not being met, then the facts and the business that we're trying to get on with will not progress because the feelings are going to create drag on the momentum of the company, of the meeting, of the things that we're trying to achieve.
Mhm. Hmm. This is like, this is very, very interesting. I'm really enjoying it because I think there's so much that can be done with our communication styles, not only with the workplace, but all of this can be carried over to the home as well. But
For
I
sure.
know that most leaders don't have this level of training. It's either they've had to go and seek it out themselves and discover what works and what doesn't, or they just do what they know. So what was it that made you decide to really dig into this field and start offering this to corporate? Because it's such a needed element of corporations these days. And I think even more so today because it's such an unstable environment that feelings can be a little on the surface these days. I'll call it that.
Well, we were doing a huge number of, in my company, we were doing a huge number of organizational reviews.
Mhm.
We were doing culture health checks. We were doing evaluations.
Mhm.
And the common thread through all of it was how people felt about each other
Mhm.
or about how they felt about the leader. And I can't tell you, Sally, how many conversations I had to go and have with the leader and say, I know you brought us in and you thought the problem was them. Sorry, mate, but the problem's you.
Mm.
And how you lens it, how you look at it, not understanding how they're experiencing you, not understanding the impact that you're having on your people. You're all about strategy.
Mhm.
Well, it's that lovely quote, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And if, I think it's a Drucker quote, and if culture includes that we speak poorly to each other, we don't problem solve, we don't risk take, we don't explore the feelings we're having about when you spoke to me that way, or that we got into psychological games endlessly. I come to work and every day there is a game on the go. It's a power play, it's a put down.
Yes.
So we started to see through all of the reviews and the evaluations, we saw all of that. And I realised that we had to go away and start working with leaders and their teams.
Mhm.
Because when we would do a review, we would realise that the culture was rancid and they
Yes.
were beaten up and then people were leaving. Like one of the first things you do is you get the stats on turnover.
Right.
And then you go say, are you even doing exit interviews? Are you doing independent exit interviews? No. Well, let me do some for you. And in the exit interviews, you would get the juice. You
Yeah.
get the juice of why people are leaving. And the
Mhm.
company thinks they're leaving because the competitor's paying more, and
Mhm.
actually they're leaving because the way the boss speaks to me.
Yes. Yeah.
Or it's a feelings thing. They're leaving because of how I don't feel significant or valued. I feel I have no agency. Every one of those things I've said is a feeling.
Right.
And I'm encouraged, a lot of big multinationals are now doing PPC, people performance culture, rather than the old HR.
Mhm.
And I work a lot with sole traders who are really taking off. They are small to medium sized enterprises that have really taken off. And they've been in the situation where they've never been able to afford HR. And they've
Mhm.
maybe gone for one of the bigger companies who just provide, when I'm in trouble with my staff or I need to performance manage or something, help me out. But look, the PPC approach is people and performance. And in that, it's not all about performance targets. It is also a conversation that says, how do we help you grow? What is there about this environment? What is there about the interaction with each other that's going to support you? And if they are head down, ass up, just being so damn busy and thinking, well, that's great, we're accelerating, we're in growth here,
Mhm.
isn't always the best environment for their people to be able to say, wait a minute, what if
Mhm.
growth is not the best strategy right now? Because until we are able to solidly perform as a team where we can have tough conversations with each other about, are we in game right now? Wait a minute, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you kicking me? Why are you kicking me? What's going on that you want to kick me right now? Can we resolve this? Otherwise, we set it up for some kind of horrible cancerous stuff
Right.
going on that we can't undo.
Hmm. That's I just am so intrigued because
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen it all play out. And, I was in another event this morning where we were actually talking about the trust factor. And a lot
Oh,
of the same things came up in how much we bring our own fears and our own worries and doubts forward because of that trust. We're not willing to give our trust to that other person because of that barrier that could be there, that they're not seeing us, they're not hearing us, they're not feeling us. And some of the people on the call were saying that, corporate is just so broken with regards to that. And I don't think it's broken. I think it's just that there's certain people that are in tune with it and how to be a good leader and how to communicate properly, and others just aren't tuned properly yet. And so there's an opportunity for that for them to be able to get the support that they need to understand
yeah.
themselves, and then understand that they have an opportunity to
Lots.
change, as you said, to those different elements within the triangle.
I love that you're mentioning trust. I really do. Um, and if we go to Covey Jr., who's
Mhm.
got some lovely work around the speed in which we can actually build trust and the enormous business benefits that there are in
Mhm.
that deal that we're going to do or with our teams, that he talks about two key elements. One is character
Mhm.
and the other is competence.
Mhm.
And my experience is that most people are thinking we'll go into pitch, for example, for that piece of work, proving how competent we are,
Mhm.
that you can trust us as a competent company to deliver this for you. And yet, what they are feeling is the mismatch on your character between what you seem to be saying and what I am feeling from you.
Mhm.
Because if you think about the character element, is we need to be able to walk the talk. I
Yes.
had an experience recently with someone who invited me to do something with them and
Mhm.
then completely misstepped on it, completely misstepped,
Mhm.
and felt like the answer and the apology, if you like, was all around competency. And it was not. What I was now feeling was that she was not someone who walked her talk. And if they don't do that, then we are not going to trust them. And if we
Right.
don't have trust in the room, it, it's that classic thing, isn't it? It's a long time building and it's an easy moment lost.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, this has been very, very enlightening. And is there anything else that you would suggest for people that might be listening today that would help them to be able to at least initiate a conversation with somebody within the team to be able to talk about how they're feeling in their particular position in which they're in? And then also, how could people find you and where can people connect to learn more about Carolyn?
Well, the find me is dead easy. It's my name. You'll find my website on Carolyn at carolynstenhouse.com. I confess I'm not big on the socials. You'll find me on LinkedIn, but for sure, I just Carolyn at carolynstenhouse.com is how you find me. I would encourage everybody for themselves to go do an Enneagram at
Mm,
integrative9.com
okay.
is the product, if you like, the online test that I use. It's got about a 99% accuracy rate.
Okay.
So integrative9.com, go do your own Enneagram. It's one thing to get the results. If you can go there, use someone like me as a guide to walk you through it so you
Mm,
get a better understanding. On the day to day, I would say watch for the game. Watch you're either in it, go, am I hearing poor me? Am I hearing bleep you? Or am I hearing, can I save you? Because
mhm.
then you're on one of those positions, well, get off it.
Yes.
And the getting off it would include saying in your own head, oh, we appear to be in game. And you can only be in game if there are two of you playing.
Mm,
So get off means you just don't do it.
right.
Just don't pick up one of those other positions. And I would say I am a big lover of a curious mind.
Mhm.
A curious mind, when you want to get them, you're in revenge or you're in some feelingsy thing, would be to go, what am I feeling right now? What am
Mhm.
I feeling?
Right.
What are they likely to be feeling? Because you know that thing about a good apology is that we really truly have gone, first of all, I'm going to take responsibility for my part, and I am going to give you a fulsome understanding of
Mhm.
my part in this.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to say sorry because from the perspective of sorry, what was it like for you? Too many people do an apology from a defended place of this is what it was like for me to feel
Mhm.
bad about myself that I was so shitty to you. Whereas actually we want to come at it from the position of I'm trying to understand what that must have been like for you. And so day to day, whether it's an apology or not, you're going to go, what's going on for me right now? What am I feeling? What is this triggering? And then, just like with a good apology, we're going to go, well, what would that be like for them?
Mhm.
They're a pear, I'm an apple. I just did something, said something. I feel the feeling in the room. There's something going on either in me or in them. I'm going to get curious about myself and see what's happening. And
Mhm.
then I'm going to really broach something new and say, I'm wondering if something else is going on just now. Could you tell me what you're feeling?
Mhm.
And if they are struggling with it and you're a leader, go get yourself an infographic on the feelings wheel. There's about 100 feelings, I think. There's a lot in there, but as an infographic, don't be embarrassed to pull it out. Get it ready, have it on your desktop, whack it up on the Zoom call and say, what might we be feeling right now that's helping us and what's in the way? Okay, because if people don't have the feelings vocabulary, then that infographic on the feelings wheel
Mhm.
really helps them go there.
Yeah, nice. Great tip. I think that would be very good for most leaders to have in their office, probably all
Yeah.
leaders, just because it opens up that conversation and it also, really makes the other person feel like they're being heard. Because what, like you said earlier, and that's what the key is, I think, is just making sure that people understand they're being seen and heard and that you appreciate that and you're able
That
to
they have
adjust if you need to.
significance.
Yes.
Yeah, we all want to have an impact. If
Yeah.
we feel we have, that thing about that person came into the room and they never said hello to me. We
Mhm.
may instantly be off sides just because they didn't say good morning,
Mhm.
because I don't feel that you see me or that I have any impact on you. And relationally, that puts us offside.
Mhm. Right, it does.
Fascinating, huh?
It is fascinating. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a definite pleasure for sure. And I think it's going to be very enlightening for so many people that are out there listening to us. And I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's early in Australia this morning for you to be here, but I do appreciate you showing up and sharing such amazing insights. Thank you.
Loved it. Loved it, Sally. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Sally Speaks Mindset podcast. We hope this episode has inspired and empowered you on your quest for success and personal growth. If you're ready to take your success journey to new heights, connect with me, Sally Arkell Bowles, your high performance success and mindset mentor. Whether you're an executive, entrepreneur, or part of a dynamic team, I'm here to help you navigate challenges, supercharge your mindset, and drive exceptional results. Together, we'll embrace a transformative approach, breaking through limitations and opening doors to uncharted territory. No matter your industry or profession, my mission is to empower you to excel. From leadership development and sales excellence to personal empowerment, we'll tailor a journey that aligns with your unique goals. Connect with me and start your transformational journey today. Let's collaborate on unleashing your full potential and creating a future filled with success and growth. Don't forget to follow, like, comment, and share to spread empowerment. You can find more about me and connect with me through the links provided in the show notes. Thank you for being part of the Sally Speaks Mindset podcast community. Stay empowered, stay motivated, and keep working towards the success you deserve.